How long does it take to learn a language? Before we crunch some numbers, we first have to understand that the answer depends on the language being learned, the level and applications desired, and the learner's own background, education, and experience. These are topics we explore in detail in our free course in How to Learn a Language. Here in this video, we'll pick some hypothetical parameters. The majority of people say they just want to be able to get by. So let's say that you speak only English and you want to learn to get by in French. What would that look like, and how long would that take? Getting by requires enough knowledge and experience to be able to work within the language itself and not rely on translation. Let's say that getting by is roughly equivalent to a B2 level on the CEFR, or Common European Framework of Reference. This is a standard scale for grading levels in languages and is based on ability to perform certain functions. At a B2 level, you can converse on a range of topics and even read for pleasure. You'll still make mistakes and you still won't feel as comfortable as you do in your native language, and you'll be missing a lot of vocabulary and cultural references. A B2 level requires a bare minimum active vocabulary of about 2,500 words. Your passive vocabulary will be significantly greater by this stage. This level also requires an active knowledge of all principal grammatical patterns and constructions. How long does it take to learn 2,500 words? For each word, we first need to understand what the word means and how it is used. It's rarely just a one-to-one correspondence. For example, in English, the simple word to run can mean to run a race or to run a company. A river runs, and a road can run through a town. Eggs can be runny. When learning a different language, we have to learn the sphere of meaning for each word. Once we understand that, we have to store the word in our memory and then practice recalling it to develop the skill of actually using the language. Let's say that you are using memory palaces to store your vocabulary in your memory, and you can learn and store one word in an average of 2 minutes. Now this is pretty quick since it includes review time, but let's say that we can stick to this speed. At 2 minutes per word, this means to reach the minimum of a B2 level of active vocabulary, we'd need to spend 5,000 minutes, or roughly 83 to 84 hours learning vocabulary. If we spent an hour every day, that would take about 3 months and would be about 25 to 30 words per day. Now what about grammar? Just sitting down and going through an explanation of the grammar of a language through one of our online courses takes about 15 to 20 hours. This would give you the foundation for a passive understanding of the structure. You would probably need to watch the content all the way through at least twice and spend at least 50 hours working on storing the material in your memory palace to transform it from passive to active. Assuming the same aggressive rate of 2 minutes per item, this amounts to about 85 hours to develop an active knowledge of the grammar required for a B2 level. This means that at this rate, spending 2 hours of highly concentrated study every day, you would be able to achieve the active production required to reach the bare minimum for a B2 level in 3 months. To translate this active recall into an actual skill in getting by in the language, you would also need to spend time practicing using the language, either alone or with conversation partners, working on pronunciation, and listening to the language. You need dozens, if not hundreds of hours spent listening to different voices within the language to learn to recognize your new vocabulary and grammar when spoken by different speakers at different speeds. Our time estimate also does not include any reading of literature, watching of films, learning of songs, or engagement with the culture and cultural references required for daily language use. All of this assumes 100% consistency at an aggressive learning pace with all materials already organized for our objective. While it would be possible to do all the work to reach a B2 level in just a few months, it's not likely you would be able to do so if you are learning a language that's unrelated to ones you speak already, if you have no prior experience with learning languages, and if you have other commitments, like a job. We're also looking at the bare minimum required, and while B2 is a decent level, I personally would not call it fluent. All this being said, hopefully you can see that a consistent daily time commitment focused on active storage and production of targeted material can nonetheless produce significant results in short amounts of time. If you develop the habit of spending half an hour a day of concentrated study and couple that with spending time listening to the language whenever possible and engaging with the language mentally, you could develop the knowledge and skills required to get by in less than a year. This video has just skimmed the surface. If you'd like to learn more about what's involved in learning a language, how to set your own objectives, and how long the process takes, please head over to linguisticator.com and sign up for our free course in How to Learn a Language.